Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, sponsored by GamblersWorld.net. And it's there you'll find 10 of the finest handicappers in the country, including myself and Chip Chirimbes. And we also guarantee all our picks. So if you don't win, you don't make a profit on any single game or multi-game daily package or any subscription plan at 30 days or fewer. We will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price so you can use that money, I should say, toward future purchases. Also, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, which is Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's absolutely free. Everybody likes free. I know you like free because most of you out there are looking for free. And that's okay. It's what it's all about. So, again, just hit that red subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner, or black subscribe button, excuse me, on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you're on your PC, you'll see a red WC logo. Just click on that, and that will get you subscribed for free. And then take an extra second or so to go into your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. You'll be notified immediately upon any of our future content going up on our 5 podcasts weekly. All right, today is Thursday, May the 2nd. Every Thursday, I'm joined by Mr. Chip Chirimbes, fellow handicapper over at GamblersWorld.net, and our lone guy who's not on GamblersWorld.net because he's contracted by a great site called DocSports.com that's been around for 53 years. And Doug hasn't been around for 53 years, but that site has them. Maybe Chipper has. Anyway, Doug, how are you?
I'm doing well, and hey, we got a lot of good stuff going on and coming up this weekend, Ross. So really looking forward to that, and that includes the Kentucky Derby. So that's might be some people interested in that. So I got a few thoughts on that one, but overall things have been going very well. 8-5 week, happy with that. Just to get things rolling here. NBA 4-2 run. So that's been a positive, and props continue to do very well. I've hit 6 out of the last 9, and 59.6% the last 20 weeks across all props. So that has been excellent. And today I have 2 more. Okay, going in NBA action tonight.
Yeah, and we're going to have two
two
free NBA props coming from Doug very shortly, as we'll be covering the Knicks in Philadelphia and Milwaukee in Indiana, both game 6s. And both series right now at 3-2. Chipper, I said he might have been around for 53 years. I was kidding, okay? But it's pretty close. You started in your late 20s in the business?
So. I'd rather not say, Well.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you're only 49. Anyway, Chipper, how's everything going of late? And I know you cashed in a nice play like I did as well last night with the Dallas Mavericks. You know, Chipper, and again, I got to hammer this home with people, and I know I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're going to agree with me. The obvious pick would have been the Clippers last night. They just won game 4 to tie the series up. They have momentum. They're going home, and they're a home underdog. In sports betting, when it looks too good to be true, more times than not, it's not. But Chipper, I'll let you take it away from there.
Well, thank you, Ross. Coming off the show on Tuesday, we swept the board 3-0 in the NBA with another big megabuck winner. Came back last night with Dallas. So I don't want to be distracted by the Kentucky Derby or anything else right now because we are just rolling with our last 5 best bet winners, 10-3 in the NBA with our top plays right now. So I'm looking forward to a big game action tonight, and I have both games posted.
There you go. So speaking of the Kentucky Derby, Doug is going to give us a slight preview here. So for those of you waiting for the basketball picks and you like to play the Derby or the Preakness or the Belmont, just a sporadic horse better on these major events, Doug's your guy. I know he gave me, I believe last year you had the trifecta, if I'm not mistaken, or was it the year before?
And then the year before. Yes, year before.
Chipper, just, keep in mind, I got a hot tip I'm going to ask Doug about. It's a hot tip. on
Yeah.
soldering iron. Is soldering iron running? I don't even know. Anyway,
No.
go ahead.
Yeah, so the races, I got 20 horses as per usual, and you have to qualify in order to get to the Kentucky Derby. And the two favorites are Fierceness, the morning line favorite of 5-2, and Sierra Leone at 3-1. Interesting though, in both cases, for each horse, Fierceness is a outstanding horse and a deserved favorite. But here's a couple of things about him, is that he's running out of the number 17 slot. And when they're in the Kentucky Derby, even though this is going to be the 150th running, years ago they didn't have this many horses. So it's been 44 times that they've had at least 17 horses, and the horse that ran out of the 17th slot has never won. Okay, take it for what it's worth. Okay, so it's an interesting thing. And then Sierra Leone is running out of the number 2 slot, and so that's not necessarily a great one either, because obviously if you watch a horse race, when you're watching it, most horses then go towards the rail, and so the horses closest to the rail try to avoid and get out of the way of traffic. So that's really adds a lot of intrigue as to what's going to happen here. Those two, the horses, are deserving favorites. The Fierceness, the one thing I guess one thing I would say about Fierceness, I would put him in your list of favorites, but the one thing you have to consider is that, and this maybe becomes like a separate bet, is that horse has run 5 times. 3 times it's won. The other 2 times, absolute duds. Okay, just terrible horse racing. And so you don't know what you're going to get, and that's the problem. And so if you like that horse to win, I would suggest doing it. Otherwise, you might want to put it in a trifecta or a superfecta as part of 4 horses. Okay, so just put it in the mix. Now, as far as other things, right now it's looking like it's going to rain on Friday. So depending upon how much rain you get on Friday, one thing to consider, if there ends up being a larger amount of rain and the track is slower, granted it can dry out during the day on Saturday, but if it's muddier, there's a horse called Mystic Dan right now, and Mystic Dan won one of the Kentucky Derby prep races in the mud, and coming into this race he had the second fastest speed rating, and in those conditions. So he is what seems to be an accomplished mudder. So if the track is a little bit messed up, look for Mystic Dan to his odds to really drop. Currently at 20-1, but if the track's a little messed up, and he becomes a play. One horse that I like a lot in this one is I got to think. I'm just drawing a blank here real quick on the name. It'll come to me in just a second. Honor Marie. That's it. Honor Marie. Honor Marie, those odds also at 20-1, those are likely to drop. Horse has all the capabilities of a nice long shot to come in and win. Like I said, I bet that horse already at 20-1 to win. I made a small bet, but then I also made bigger bets for place and show. And so with that, I think this horse is going to be right in the mix of what's going to go on here. So without going too much further into detail, those are the horses that I would consider and to look at depending on some different situations. There are some other ones that certainly are in the mix. Catching Freedom, I like a lot, but those odds are likely to drop because a lot of people like that horse. And then the Japanese horse, Forever Young. Okay, that's another one that's in there. So that's enough about horse racing. I know you guys are bored to death, but
no, it's fine.
That's what's going on.
I like any horse that's named Forever Young. So in any event, Chipper, I'm listening to the analysis, and it was a great job, Doug. Thank you. We appreciate that very much, and I hope you subscribers and viewers appreciate it as much as I do. And you can get Doug's Kentucky Derby picks and any other races. The Friday.
In fact, Doc's. One last thing to mention. Doc's has a special. First time they've ever done it since I've been there. So also on Friday, there's the Kentucky Oaks, which is the female horse version of the Kentucky Derby. And so with that, Doc's has a special right now, $35 for the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. So get both races from any of the handicappers that are participating. And myself also what will be included in there. I will have at least 3 other races that are, there's a number of stakes races that day or both days. And so I'll have at least 3 other ones, probably 4, but 3 other ones that will be available on Friday and Saturday mornings.
Yep, you have to pay for those, folks. He gave you a nice preview. For those of you not willing to pay, you could decipher through all the information he gave you and come up with some decisions on your own. I would prefer, and if I were to bet on a race, and I don't bet horses all the time, to get Doug's advice and pay the little fee that you do and make a lot from that purchase. So in any event, Chipper, I'm listening to the analysis. I was getting to this before until I got sidetracked, where he's talking about a horse coming off the rail and weaving through traffic. And I'm thinking of my days in the 80s when I came out of a bar. It was, yeah, same thing. Anyway, the Knicks in Philadelphia, buddy. All right, the Philadelphia 76ers, -3. The total, which was about, prior to going on air about an hour and a half ago, was 200. It's now 201.5.
Yeah.
How did the Knicks react here? If you even want to comment on that, but I got to bring it up. I mean, you're talking about a Knicks team, okay, that had a 6-point lead with 28 seconds to go, and then they allowed not Philadelphia to outscore them 7-1 in the last 25 seconds, but Tyrese Maxey outscores them 7-1. Tough to come back from those type of things in most instances, but the Knicks are a pretty resilient team. But anyway, what's your thoughts?
Well, that's been the whole talk, and I think that's the whole approach and the whole thing. If you're going to look at this game, is how are the Knicks handling that collapse, sort of like they won game 2. So maybe they even out as far as that's concerned. But all week long, I mean, the last couple of days, should I have fouled? Should we not have fouled? Should we have done this? And this has been rehashed now for 48 hours in New York. And, to the Knicks as a team, their credit, I think it's because of Tibbs. Let me just say this much. He, from the moment he got there, put a mindset of defense on this Knicks team, and that's where their improvements started. And I think he's going to go into this game the same way, and they're going to have to surround or do whatever they can to control Embiid. Sure, Maxey had 47 points, but up until that point, he really hadn't had that great a series, and he did. It was explosive, and now that they're even crying in New York because the replay shows that Maxey actually took steps or traveled when he made that 4-point play. Jalen Brunson's got to come up big here. I mean, and the supporting cast, Josh Hart had a chance to put this game away. 2 free throws with a 3-point lead. I mean, with a 2-point lead, and he only made 1. And then Maxey came down and hit the tying shot. But I think defense is the key here, and I think this game stays under. And that's going to be the Knicks' key to approaching this game. I think they're pretty resilient, like you said, and I think they have a great mindset. But it's a tough call, knowing just exactly what their mindset is if they're kicking. Because if they happen to go down here, they really start doubting themselves.
Yeah. So you like the under 201.5?
Yeah.
I take it. So
yeah, I do. I think it's going to be defense all the way. I think that's what Tibbs' mindset has been with this team from the beginning. Let's get back to basics. This is how we're going to win.
Yeah. I got a sour taste in my mouth from the total in Game 5. Guys, I'm on a tremendous run in the NBA. 12-1 with my last 13, 23-5 with my last 28, and 30-9 with my last 39. All documented, folks, at all the sites I'm on, including gamblersworld.net. But my lone loser, my last 13 picks, Chipper, I had the under in Game 5. All the Knicks had to do was hang on and win. The game was a lock under. What did they allow them to do? They get outscored.
No yelling down here. No,
yeah.
No such thing as locks, Ross.
Yeah, no doubt. So, but it happens, and I can't complain because those runs I just told you about, and that takes me to this, folks. I don't know why you wouldn't want to endeavor into buying my or Chip's NBA playoff package over at gamblersworld.net. A mere $195 will give you every one of our NBA playoff picks right through the NBA Finals. So keep that in mind. Gamblersworld.net, $195. And this game in particular, Chip, I'm going to have a look at. We talked about how the Knicks are going to recover. They've shown they can recover well all season long.
Yeah.
23-10 straight up, 22-11 against the spread following a loss this year. That's a 67% rate of covering.
Yeah.
And then even better than that in terms of straight up. And then again, if they're coming off in their last 9, if they're coming off a loss, they're 7-2 straight up and 8-1 against the spread and outscoring opponents by 10 points per game. The moral of the story is this is a very resilient team. And if any team can come back from a disheartening loss like they just suffered in Game 5, I think the Knicks are more than capable of doing so. And then, Doug, I have and I'll let you talk after this. I got a nice NBA playoff betting angle here. Not a huge sample size, but it's relegated to just Game 6, so you're not going to get a huge sample size. It's since 2003 in the NBA playoffs, any Game 6 away team that's up 3-2 in a series and coming off a home loss like the Knicks are, where they had a chance to close the team out, they let them off the hook, and now they have to go back on the road. They have rebounded to go 15-4 straight up in ATS in those situations, again, since 2003. And if they were an underdog of 2 or more, 6-1 straight up in ATS. Not only covering 6 of the 7 as an underdog of 2 or more, but also winning 6 of those 7 outright. So I'm going to go with the New York Knicks here as my lean in this game, But our official pick comes from Mr. Chirimbes. He likes the Knicks and Philadelphia to go under the total 201.5 tonight. Doug, what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, on this one, I'm going to respectfully disagree with Chip on this one, and here's why. Everything he said makes perfect sense to me. 3 of the 5 games have gone over, and of course, the one of the ones that was over was the last one that, unfortunately for Ross, that happened here. But I think with the lower total, especially when it was 200, that would suggest that that favors the Knicks because a lower scoring game. But let's look at Philadelphia's perspective. Philadelphia understands that for them to win this series, or to win this game rather, they probably do have to score more points. Okay, they cannot have it be a game that ends up in the 90s. So they are going to do everything that they can possibly do to raise the level of score and change and force a Game 7 in this one. One thing I happen to look at, and by the way, this is even at 201.5, that's the lowest total thus far in the series. The previous low was 204 on this one. But the Knicks in their last 2 games have shot below 30% from behind the arc. On the season this year, on the road, they're shooting 37%. So I'm thinking that they will shoot the ball better from behind the arc in this game. In the last game, both teams shot below 70% from the free throw line. That is, I think the Knicks are, I think the Knicks are 77% from the free throw line, and I think Philadelphia is 82. I expect both teams to shoot better from the free throw line. So those are the main reasons that I think this game will go over. Also, like the fact that the Knicks are 20-11 over, having won 5 of their last 6. Sixers 12-4 over, having covered 3 of their last 4. I'm just going to go the other way and respectfully disagree with Chip on this one. One of us will come out a winner. We'll see how it turns out.
So we're not accused of two-siding games, folks. We went 3-0 on the show on Monday with this same cast of characters. We give out an official pick, which each one of us are assigned to a game. Chip's game is Philly and the Knicks. His official pick for us is under 201.5. And we're all entitled to our opinions, but we don't count like Doug liking the opposite side. It's duly noted in our minds, okay? It's hard to ignore. But our official pick, when we talk about how we did the next day or the next show, is going to be Chippers on the under 201.5. All right, so let me get to my game, and then we'll get to Doug's 2 prop plays. And we're going to do something different here because Doug just gave us a nice dissertation on the Kentucky Derby. And to break it up just a little bit, Doug, we're going to change it up. And I'm sure you don't like that. All right. So my game is the Bucks and the Pacers. Chip, this has got a little interesting twist here because, this morning it opened up Indiana minus 7.5, went to 8 and 8.5 as early morning when I looked at it. And now it's down to 6 for Indiana and in the total 217. And certainly my antennas went up because I've not for a second thought this was money related. Because of the the doubtful status of Giannis and of Damian Lillard, I said to myself, this has got to have something to do with one or both of these players. So my pick doesn't have anything to do with this, but just to set the record straight and for further conversation for you and Doug to talk about. I looked USA Today as of 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is about a little over an hour ago, is reporting that Damian Lillard has now been upgraded to questionable, and Giannis is still listed as doubtful, but both want to play tonight. What that means, I don't know. I would say based on the line move that at least Lillard they consider as a strong possibility to take on the floor tonight. How effective he is, I don't know. Right. Why I say that doesn't matter to me because I'm looking at Indiana's team total, which is 111.5. You know, one of the things I always tell you people out there, and I'm going to continue to reemphasize this throughout the course of the NBA playoffs, be careful not to overreact to a game in a series, the game before, I should say, in a series. In this particular instance, overreacting to the Bucks convincing 115-92 win in Game 4, and more so the amount of points that Indiana scored. Yes, Milwaukee was stout defensively. There's no two ways about it. That was a key ingredient to them winning. Because on most days, Indiana could win a game when they hold the team to 115 or at the very least be right in the mix, and that wasn't the case. But since last year, Indiana has played only 8 games following a contest in which they scored less than 100. That's right. I mean, that's how high-powered of an offense and the fast pace that this team has played over the last 2 seasons. Only 8 times they've had a follow-up after a game where they scored 99 or less in the previous contest. And in those 8 games, they averaged 124 points per game, shot close to 52% from the field, and just a shade under 40% from the three-point line. So when you hold Indiana to less than 100, it's very rare over the last 2 seasons, but in the following game, they bounce back, and it's very difficult to think or imagine you're going to hold them down 2 games in a row offensively. Now, they still may lose the game because they're flawed a bit defensively, and they have been all season. The Pacers have also scored 112 points or more in 63 of 88 games this year. That's 72%. Can we tighten that up even further? We certainly can. 34 of their 43 home games this year, they've scored 112 or more. That's 79%. Is it possible to tighten that up even more, Doug? Yes, it is. And 24 of 28 conference home games against teams from the Eastern Conference, 112 points or more, they've scored 24 of 28 of those home games against Eastern Conference opponents. That's 86% of the time, Chip. And I know Chip's going to say, but 14% of the time, Ross, they don't. Anyway, the Bucks have also allowed 112 points or more their last 6 and 11 of their last 12 away. And they've also allowed 112 points or more in 21 of 27 conference away games, which is 78% of the time. Milwaukee has allowed 119.2 points per game in their last 4 after allowing 99 or less. Chip, you know what I'm going to like, right? I think I like the Indiana Pacers over their team total of 111.5.
Sounds like it to me. Well, you know, you said the point spread line dropped to 6, and that I would say it's probably they probably expect Damian Lillard to be playing.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that I'm going to go in the total in this game, and a couple of reasons. First off, coming off that 115-92 win, prior to that, the Pacers had beaten this team 5 of the last 6 times they met, you know, and Milwaukee, their effectiveness on the road hasn't been even though these teams are only 2 games apart on the year, they won 8 less games on the road. So I see a big difference there. But the point total, Ross, in the first game of the series, it opened 230. Now, and the last game, it was 218. Now we're down to, what did you give me as a number?
217. 217.
Okay, and I think it's just trending down, and I'm gonna say that this game stays under. The 5 games prior to these playoffs, the regular season games, the average total was 250.5, and they had it up as high as like 266. And so they're definitely sending a message, the type of pace and play that they expect. It is the playoffs, and this happens every year, even in the NFL. Everybody tightens up a little bit and gets a little more conservative. But, I think they realize, as we believe, that the Bucks aren't going to be able to outscore this team. So I'm looking for this game to be a different pace game. Probably Lillard will be in there, but like you said, how effective will he be? I don't know. But, one thing I do know about May 2nd, Ross, which it's a day for your namesake.
All right.
Do you know that in 1876 that Ross Barnes hit the first home run in National League recorded history? How about that?
All right. As long as it wasn't Ross Benjamin, because they already referred to me as old.
No. And it was also the day that Lou Gehrig retired. I mean, Lou Gehrig stepped out of baseball, and that Ted Williams had his lowest point of the entire season. When he hit 401, he was at 308 at this time of the season in 1941.
Wow, isn't that something? I would have never guessed that. That's a hell of a run he made over the last 3 or 4 months of the season.
Yeah.
So in any event, Doug, a lot to talk about there. And again, my pick is Indiana over 111.5. By the way, folks, I do have the winning side in this game up right now at gamblersworld.net. $35 again. NBA 12-1 the last 13, 23-5 the last 28, and 30-9 the last 39. That's not a USA Today ad from 1977 from Stu Feiner. That's Ross Benjamin's streak right now. Anyway, Doug, go ahead.
Yes, well, first of all, a good thing what Chip just said about Ted Williams is because if he was alive today and playing baseball, social media, he would be being crucified, on Twitter or X right now for hitting 308, for God's sakes, when he normally hit far higher than that. And also, Ross, one thing, this is right up your alley before I get into the game itself. I just would like to know that I'm seriously thinking about taking Indiana to win the series at minus 400. So I just wanted to get that out of the way then too, just to put a smile on your face. Anyway, so Indiana to me showed a level of immaturity in Game 5. They just really didn't come to play, and they knew that they were going to get the Bucks' best shot, and they still didn't come to play. And it seemed like their whole attitude was, well, you know what, we get Game 6 at home, so we're good. So after getting crushed, the players, I think, got a nice wake-up call just overall. And all of their comments after the game were about having the better mental preparation for Game 6. And they, to a man, said, hey, we're going to be ready to go. Milwaukee, I don't think now Lillard, if he's back, but the players that played in Game 5, I don't think collectively they could possibly play any better than what they did offensively and defensively. They played a spirited game. They were just locked in. And Doc Rivers talked about that after the game, but I think they're due for some regression in this one. So where I'm going to focus my attention is the first half line, which currently is -3 with Indiana. And teams like the Bucks that are a 2.5 to 5.5 point underdog against the first half line off a win by 20 or more points against a division opponent, and that opponent then is off a loss by 10 or more against a division foe, they are just 8-28. So I'm going to say for my selection on this game, -3 for Indiana at halftime in this game.
All right, Indiana -3 is a halftime bet. Official pick from Ross Benjamin. Indiana over 111.5 under team total. Chip Chirimbes likes this game to go over the total of 217. And, I know I'm glad you brought that up about the -400. And I want to clarify this. I did it yesterday, and I'm going to do it today too. All right. You often hear me scoff at betting high money line favorites. And here's the reason why. Okay. Jesse entertains that area like Doug does, but these guys are pros. Okay. So when they do it, they hit it at a very high probability and they pick their spots. Why I frown on that coming on the show is not because I disagree with Doug or I disagree with Jesse. Why I don't like that being used on the show is like Doug won that game the other night at -190. But now people get a false sense of security that that's the route to go. Again, you're talking about a guy who doesn't use those types of picks every day. All right. And he does it professionally and every day. And I just don't want you folks getting into bad habits that are going to cost you a lot of money over the long haul, because this just in. If you're watching this show, and I know a lot of you like to say that you're just as good and all kinds of comments, and that's fine. It goes in one ear and out the other. But we're pros and you're not. Bottom line. Is that arrogant? No, because our records speak for itself over the years. And there's a reason why we've been doing it for as long as we have. And we don't get out of work at 4 o'clock and try to handicap a game when we get out of work. Anyway, all right, Doug, now that I got that off my chest, how about you tell us what your favorite props are in each game?
All right, we'll start with Indiana and Milwaukee, and I like Miles Turner to go over on points. It's not a direct correlation necessarily, but in the 3 games that the Pacers have won, Turner has averaged 26.6 points per game. In the 2 games they lost, he averaged 15 points per game. Now, when I originally had done this, the Pacers were an 8.5-point favorite. Now we know that Lillard or somebody's likely to play for Milwaukee. Changes the dynamic a little bit. But at home, I think Turner is in for another quality game. In this one, I think the Pacers, everybody's kind of talked about it, are likely to control the pace and have it be more up-tempo. I think that's right up Miles Turner's alley. So I'm going to recommend over 20.5 points for Miles Turner in this game.
All right, Miles Turner, over 20.5. Boy, oh boy, you got a big man that could beat you in a lot of ways with Miles Turner. He's very athletic. You could jump out of the building, and he also could knock down 3-point shots. So nice pick there. On to your next pick.
All right. 10 days ago, on this show, I gave you Josh Hart for over 29.5 for points, assists, and rebounds. I'm coming right back with him. Okay. The number's up a point to 30.5. But in this one, in 4 of the 5 games, he has surpassed this total of 30.5 with those 3 different scenarios of things that he does during the course of the game. The only game he did not, he was 0 for 7 shooting. So that kind of puts it at a tough position. But even then, he still ended up with 26 a total on that one. So considering what the situation is here for New York, I think Hart is so valuable to this team with his all-around game, and I think they're looking to deliver, a knockout punch in this one on their most important game of the season on the road. So I'm going to go over Hart for 30.5 for points, assists, and rebounds.
All right, Josh Hart over 30.5 combined points, rebounds, and assists tonight, and he also likes Miles Turner of the Indiana Pacers to go over his point total of 20.5. And Chipper, you often mention, and it's a great point to bring to the viewers' attention again and to reemphasize, because you brought it up a couple times and it makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. The Knicks core group, when you talk about Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, and Dante DiVincenzo, it's by no mistake all 3 of those players play at Villanova. And it's by no mistake a team like the Knicks, even without their top scorer, Julius Randle. Well, no, not the top scorer, but a star in the front court, Julius Randle, still continue to succeed. And one of the things that I always took away from the Villanova program under Jay Wright when he was there, it was players like such as these that we just mentioned, and the resiliency and character under tough situations. And look at Villanova, the couple runs they made in the NCAA tournament to win it all. So
I think they won it twice under Wright, and these 3 guys stayed there 4 years, and they won it twice. Yeah. And Hart wishes he had one more point. That's for sure. For this, I
wish he had one more point too, Chip.
One more point. So maybe he'll have a little incentive to bounce back here, Ross. Is what I was trying to get to, because I think they do have a lot of character. They know how to win. We talked about that. They just know how to win, and that's an intangible that's not everybody has.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it's innate in certain instances, and it's also a product of culture.
Yes,
on how you were developed, and they developed in a culture of winning, and they developed in a culture you don't have to be a star, you could still make it to the NBA. And look, they were stars in their own right, but They're not Michael Jordan or anybody like that of that magnitude. And time and time again, I think we look at the Phoenix Suns and their big three, and they're out, got swept in the first round. And here are the Knicks on the cusp of being in the second round with a win. Guys, great job. By the way, folks, Doug gave us a great preview on the Kentucky Derby. And don't forget, archives are all up on our channel at the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. So if you missed that or you want to review what Doug had to say about the Kentucky Derby, certainly take the time to do so. Don't forget to give us a like. It's real important because it's look, here's the thing. You go out to dinner, you have a nice dinner. You go out to a bar and your bartender kisses your behind and has a drink in front of you and knows exactly how to make the drink. What do you do at the end? You give him a tip. That costs you money. All we're asking you to do is give us a like. Click the like button. It's free. Absolutely free. And Doug's over there. I don't give bartenders tips. So anyway.
How did you know that?
I had an inkling. Chipper, on the other hand, he'll spend $40 and give the bartender an $80 tip. I know the way he is. So he's on the opposite side of the spectrum, especially if it's a female, and especially if he was able to get her phone number. But in any event, folks, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free to do so. And until the next time, for Ross Benjamin, Chip Chirimbes, and Doug Upstone, take care and God bless, folks.